Okay, first to make our blackberry gelato, we're going to start with the syrup. That's a very important part of a fruity gelato, is the real fruit syrup. So we have about 2 cups of fresh picked and washed very clean blackberries. And I have them in a fine mesh sieve. And you can see I've already started a little bit. Now, you're going to have to taste your blackberries, see how tart they are. Some are very tart, some are very sweet. It's all going to depend on how tart or sweet they are, how much sugar you are going to add for the entire recipe. Right now, I'm saying 3/4 of a cup to a cup for the entire recipe. But I'm going to go with 3/4 of a cup right now. It could end up going to a cup. We'll taste and see. So to the blackberries in the fine mesh sieve, I am going to add 1/4 of a cup, because that's going to help work as an abrasive and going to help me make the syrup a little bit. So now we are going to take a spoon and we are going to start pushing on those blackberries and working in the sugar as well. And we're going to start pushing out a syrup. See, you just work and mash. Now you can cook them and get the syrup out, but you won't get as fresh of a flavor. You'll get a more cooked blackberry flavor rather than a fresh blackberry flavor. You more want a fresh blackberry flavor. That's the thing about Italian gelatos that are fruit flavored. You tend to get a more fresh fruit flavor, which I absolutely adore. But if you find it easier to cook them and then strain out the juice to make your syrup, then by all means go ahead and do it that way. You want to push through. You want to leave the seeds and the skins and all that behind. You want to get as much of the juice and pulp basically out of them as you possibly can. You want to make sure that it's a fine mesh sieve. And when you get to this point where you've got some mashed up, you want to kind of work it around, which will force more juice out through. Now, if I can raise this up without making a mess, I'll let you see what we got down in there. See? We're already getting a good amount of syrup out of just 2 cups of blackberries, because you're going to have a good strong blackberry flavor in this. Now be careful. This may splash you. It may get up on you, so protect your clothes, because this is going to stain. Luckily, I'm wearing a black shirt today, so it won't be that bad. So I'm going to keep doing this, and then I'll show you the next steps. And as you can see here, we've got all the blackberries mashed now. So now is the easy part. You just kind of work it through. You just kind of start working it around, kind of pushing down a little bit to get out all that extra juice and pulp that you can possibly get out. Now, you're not going to get everything. I wish I could tell you, oh, you're going to get everything. You're going to get everything. You're not. So don't worry about it. Don't sweat it. This is making gelato. This isn't rocket science. Have fun doing it. Don't stress yourself out, making sure you get every drop out. You're not going to. But just push it through until you don't see any more willingly coming out. Because I'm almost there. I'm almost to that point where there's nothing willingly coming out. Because it's starting to get really pasty here. See, you can see it's starting to get really pasty. Basically all it is just seeds and some skins and things of that nature. Now, as you can see, we're at a drier paste now. And I think that's about all you're going to get out of it. Depending on how juicy or how big your blackberries are, will depend on how much syrup you get. Don't sweat it if you don't get the amount that I get. Don't sweat it. You may get more than I get, you may get less. Now this is what we got. We got exactly a cup of a very thick syrup. I have tasted it. It is so thick and so viscous. And my variety of blackberries that we grow here is a variety called Heaven Can Wait. And they are huge and juicy and extremely sweet. And this year they seem to be even more sweet this year. So that 1/4 of a cup of sugar that I added to the syrup is going to be perfect. And then another 1/2 cup to the gelato base is going to be all we need. We're not going to need that full cup. Now, if your blackberries are more tart, you may need a little more. Or if you just like things a little more on the sweet side, which we do not. We like things mildly sweet around here, especially fruity things. Now, we'll get started on the rest of it. Okay, now on to the next step of making this wonderful gelato. In this sauce pot, this is a heavy bottom stainless steel sauce pot. I have it over medium heat. If yours isn't so heavy bottom, you may want to turn it down a little. I have 2 cups of whole milk. Yes, I said whole milk. You're going to get the best gelato with whole milk. And 1 cup of heavy cream. Now, I'm going to let this heat and till it's just nice and warm, not boiling, just nice and warm. You'll start to see bubbles form around the side when it's nice and warm. And while that's going, I'll show you the next part. Now, in my KitchenAid mixer, you can also use a hand mixer. I have 7 large egg yolks. We are going to beat those 7 large egg yolks with the remaining 1/2 cup of our sugar. And we are going to beat them until they are pale in color and fall in ribbons into the bowl. I'll show you what it looks like when we're there. Now, as you can see, this is pale and thick. And see, it's falling in ribbons into the bowl. And now you want to scrape down that bowl really good because some egg yolks tend to want to stick. So you want to scrape down that bowl really good. And by the time this is done, your milk and cream should be very close to being fully heated. And then I'll show you what we do next. Now that this is nice and thick and our milk and cream is heated, now we are going to add our very thick, beautiful blackberry sauce to the egg mixture. Make sure you scrape that cup down and get all of it out, because the more blackberry flavor you have in this, the better it's going to be. So now you want to mix this in. Now be sure and scrape down the sides of your bowl and the bottom, because there's going to be lots of egg yolk there that did not mix in good. So you want to be sure and scrape all that down. You want all of that mixed in together. And as you can see, it's a beautiful, beautiful color. Now, with our mixer on low, and I hope you can still hear me well, we are going to start ladling in about 4 to 5 ladlesful of our warm milk and cream, so that it tempers our egg yolks and doesn't make anything curdle. Because scrambled eggs and gelato is not my idea of flavor of a good gelato. I usually do about 5 small ladlesful, which averages about 1.5 cups or so. And now we're ready to add this mixture back to our milk and cream. Now we are going to pour this into our warm milk mixture, whisking the whole time, because it still is in danger of curdling. Even though it's tempered, it's still in danger of curdling, and you do not want it to curdle. Now you want to be sure and scrape down your bowl, because there's going to be a lot of residue left in the bottom and up the sides of the bowl. So you want to be sure and scrape that down really quickly so you can get back to whisking. And now we are going to take this over to the stove, and we are going to heat this up until it's thickened, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's there. Now we have this back on medium heat. Now this should only take about a couple of minutes. You will notice that I didn't put any vanilla in this. Vanilla would have a tendency to compete with the blackberry flavor, and I want it to be a pure blackberry flavor. You will know this is thick enough when you bring up your spoon out of there and you trace a line, and see, it stays. It doesn't run back together. So we're nearly there, because it's still running off just a little bit, but we're nearly there. You can feel it thickening under the spoon. You don't want this as thick as pudding. Now that this isn't pudding, you want it relatively thin and just gently warm. You don't want it boiling. You don't want it that consistency. You want it just barely warm. I'm using a silicone spatula. It makes your life a whole lot easier, because it gets things all off the bottom and the corners and the sides and everything. Now let's test it again. See, working great. So So we're now ready to pour this into a container, preferably something with a spout. It will make it easier to pour into your ice cream maker later. And then we are going to put this in the freezer. You can put it in the refrigerator for overnight, or you can put it in the freezer for about 2 hours, and it will be nice and icy cold and ready to go into your ice cream maker. I nearly forgot to tell you this very important step. You want to put a piece of plastic wrap down exactly on the surface. You want it touching the surface of your mixture to keep from getting a skin on top of it, because otherwise it will get a skin in the freezer or the refrigerator. You don't want that. So put a piece of plastic wrap right down on top of it. Now my base is all chilled and icy cold, and now I'm ready to start spinning it. This is my ice cream maker. It's the type that doesn't require ice or salt. So you switch it on. I'm going to start slowly pouring it in. Now you just want to let this go according to your ice cream maker's directions. Mine will take about 25 minutes or so. Then we'll be back and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, this beautiful gelato is done. Look at this. Isn't that gorgeous? Now, if you want a more purple color instead of a natural purple, you can add food coloring. But around here, we like things natural. So it's going to be natural for us. So now I'm going to load it up into these disposable pint ice cream containers. I will leave a link in the description below to the ice cream maker and the containers, which I have done many times before, as you guys know, if you've been watching. I will load these up really good into my ice cream containers, and then we will freeze them until they are nice and firm, which will take a few hours. And then Jason will taste it for you when it's nice and firm.
I've been looking forward to taking a bite of this gelato right here for quite a bit. Yep. Really nice. Really nice flavor. So, Angela Kate really knows what she's doing with this stuff. It's a beautiful flavor, that gelato. Nice, smooth texture. So good. Good way to use our blackberries too. So thank you guys so much for watching. I do appreciate it. My name is Jason. This is Art of Creation Homestead. We love y'all. God bless you and goodbye.